What's going on, guys? My name is Derrick. Welcome to my channel, Euro Superbike Life, or ESBKLife for short. This is my wrecked bike rebuild video series sponsored by BellissiMoto, where I take a 2012 MV Agusta F4RR Corsa Corta, the bike behind me, that's been down several times, unfortunately, and we rebuild it to one badass street bike with the help of BellissiMoto. If you've never heard of BellissiMoto before, then they are probably the industry leader in aftermarket performance parts for your European sport bike, whether it be Ducati, MV Agusta, Aprilia, Norton, Triumph, what have you. They even have parts for Japanese bikes, so you guys aren't left out, you Gixxer, CBR, R1 guys. They have parts for you as well. Check them out, BellissiMoto.com. They have everything from ECUs, exhaust, wheels, tires, billet parts. They have it. So check them out, BellissiMoto.com. Now, this is episode 3 of a multi-episode series. I don't know how many they're going to be, but quick review. In episode 1, we did a quick review or inspection of the bike to see what was wrong. We went through a box of parts that came with the bike and sort of decided what was salvageable, what was garbage, and so forth. In episode 2, we did a more thorough inspection. We took off the rear subframe, we took off the rear exhaust, we took off some broken parts so the rear sets are gone, we took off the broken stay, and we found some other damage. We found that the clutch reservoir was also broken. We needed to replace that. In episode 3, my goal was to get the bike started. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. One, I don't have any way to put fuel in the tank. My truck and car aren't here. I don't want to go into that, but I don't have any fuel to put in the tank right now. And number 2, I had to order the air filter, and I know we wanted to change all of the filters in this particular episode. So air, fuel, oil. Unfortunately, I don't have an air filter, so I don't want to start the bike without a clean air filter. So we won't be starting the bike today, but we will be doing some other things. So we are going to change the oil. We are going to give it a bath. We are going to change the fuel filter. We are going to change the broken stay because that came in. We are going to change the right control switch because I noticed my start button was sticking a little bit. So I ordered a pre-owned one off of Fleabay, eBay, whatever you want to call them. We're going to replace that. And then we'll probably call that a wrap. So let's check out my intro and then we'll get over to the bike. So I already went ahead and removed the top fill cap here, and you need to do that so you can drain it. And I drained it with this here, some brake fluid, vacuum pump basically. Comes with a long line. So basically it comes like this. And you drop this line into here, into your tank. You hook up your air hose to it and squeeze, and it fills up this tank and drains your fluid. So I've already gone ahead and done that, so if you haven't done that, you might want to do that. So now we need to flip it over, and there's a little bit in there, so we might lose just a tiny bit of fluid. And we need to remove this bottom. 4 mil. Because I'm lazy. Go. There are a couple of hoses you want to disconnect here. Pair of pliers. And these are the vent hoses, and you'll know which ones they are because they attach up here. So you just want to pull this out enough so that you can see which ones they are. So you guys can see this. There's one hose, one here, and the other one is over here. We can pull this out, set our tank aside, and this, as we lose some fuel, grab our rag, here it is. This is our fuel filter. So what we need to do, we need to remove this clamp here, then we can lift this off, and then we need to remove this clamp here. Okay, so we got the top clamp off as well as the bottom clamp. So now we need to remove these off the fuel filter. Okay, so we got the top out, and we just pull it up under here a little bit so we can expose the bottom, and now we should be able to just work this out. There we go, fuel filter out. Grab our new OEM fuel filter. So it's a unit. Here's part numbers. Kind of glary there. Okay, so fuel filter's back on. I'll run to my local hardware store and get some appropriate hose clamps. I'll put those back on, and then we'll stick this back in the bike. All right, guys, so I am back from the store. Got my fuel hose clamps on here, top and bottom. So now we're just going to reinstall in reverse order. So we got to reach down here and grab our hoses, and I hope you mark them on which ones they go to. We just put them on in reverse order. Alright, fuel filter on the fuel tank is done, although it's probably going to have to come out again in order to repair this. But we're done. Let's head on over to the front of the bike and we'll put our stay on. right, our stay is on. Now let's move on to the right hand control switch. So I'm replacing this right hand control switch because I feel like my start button here sticks a little bit. And when I took it apart initially, there's actually a wire that's being pinched, and I'll show you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Now there's two Phillips head screws, one in the front, one in the back. You can get to it with this little stubby. Okay, and there's a connector here. And then there's another one over here, right here. So we need to remove this one right there. Okay. Here we go. Now we can begin to wind this out. And I'll show you one of the reasons why I'm replacing this thing. Okay. So if we open it up, I don't know if you could see that yellow wire, but that's pinched and crunched pretty good. And that can't be good for the long-term life of this switch. So we're going to replace it. So when you put this back on, the bottom has a little pin in it. I probably should have showed you guys where. And there's a hole in the clip-on where that goes into. So make sure you put that back in place. Otherwise, this thing will just spin around on you. That can be annoying. I've had that happen before. Some aftermarket clip-ons here. Plug that in. Put it back into position. Make sure I don't pinch the wire on this one. And we just put it back on in reverse. Don't want to over tighten these. And there we go, they got a nice new button. All right, so now let's bleed the front brakes, and then we'll do the same thing on the clutch. So one of the first things we have to do is we have to fill the reservoirs and then bleed the master cylinder, and then we can bleed the calipers. If you've been paying attention, then you notice some nice new Rizoma Wave fluid reservoirs, both brake and clutch, courtesy of BellissiMoto. So thank you again, be sure to check them out. So we're going to fill this with .4. Right to about there. And then I am going to put on my attachment, and hopefully I don't jar this and spill brake fluid all over the place. Here we go. Attach the other end here. Attach my air hose. All right. open this and squeeze the handle. All right. So we'll do that a couple of times. I still see some air in there, although I do have pressure. So we'll do that again. Open that. All right, we'll close that. So I got good pressure up here right now, so I'm happy with that. So now it's time to bleed the calipers. And I always start with the furthest caliper from the reservoir or the master cylinder, so that would be on the left side. Just ignore the glare in the background. So I'm not going to use the vacuum on this side here. Although I could, but I just find it easier, I guess, to do it the old-fashioned way, which is to pump, 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 hold, and then open and close this thing. Pump, 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 hold, open and close. You pump some more, hold it, open it, close it. Pump, 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 open, close. Pump, 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 open, close. You want to watch your fluid reservoir to make sure it doesn't drop below the intake. Otherwise, you'll just be sucking air back into your system. All right. Okay, and one more time. Pump, 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 hold, open, close, and we should be good. Now, get a towel. Clean that up. If you don't know, brake fluid is very corrosive. If you want an example of what it looks like to have brake fluid sit on your painted surfaces, check out my, my video on Instagram. It's just a quick video, but there's considerable damage. I'll actually show you guys in this one. This is what brake fluid sitting on a painted surface does to your paint. Now, if you wanted to strip some wheels, man, get a big vat of brake fluid, dunk your wheels in there, and it'll just eat all that shit off in a couple of hours. But yeah, that's what happens when you let brake fluid sit on painted surfaces. It just chews right through it. All right, so now we are over here on the left side, or the right side, excuse me. And my level is a little low here, so I'm gonna top that up. And then we're going to do the same thing. Pump, 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 open, close. Okay, I got good brake feel there. Let's take this off. Clean that up, and let's check. Give the wheel a spin, and it stops. There we go. So, dealer wanted to replace all of this. Front master cylinder, the reservoir, the lever. He wanted to replace, or they wanted to replace the entire thing. The lever is still good, although it's chewed up, but we'll replace the lever with some really cool aftermarket ones. I'm not going to tell you guys which ones are coming, but I'm super excited about those. And we got some new Rizoma reservoirs courtesy of BellissiMoto. So now we have front brakes. Now let's move on over to the clutch side. So clutch side is similar to the brake side. Put this back on here. So we have to bleed the clutch master cylinder first. We will fill it with .4 as well. we go. Grab our air. Theoretically, all we should need to do is open this thing, and it should do the rest for us. So I'm seeing fluid being sucked down and pulled into here right now. There we go. Close that. Turn that off, and we got good pressure. I'm a little bit low here, so I'm going to top this up again. I'm going to remove this, and now we have to go and bleed the clutch slave cylinder. So here's our clutch slave cylinder. As you can see, I'm missing a bolt here. There should be 3, so 1, 2, 3. This is a fairly long bolt, so I'll have to source that one from the dealer or some other location, I guess. But bleeding the slave cylinder is very similar to bleeding our master cylinders and the caliper. Basically what we are going to do is we're going to take the nipple off here. We're going to pump our clutch lever. So we're going to pump that up, hold it, and then we're going to open the valve and then close the valve. Or we can use the vacuum on this system, but these things are really close. There's no sense in using the vacuum. Sort of makes, in this close proximity, makes things a little bit more challenging, I guess. But thing to note here is that, so we want to bleed from this 8 mil top connection here, not this low. I believe this is 12 or 14 mil. This actually, this is the banjo bolt connecting point that holds this line to your slave cylinder here. So we don't want to disengage this one. We'll make a mess. But we do want to open the bleed valve here from this top 8 millimeter section. So I've already removed the nipple. I am going to put my connection point on there. Make sure I can open it. Okay, so right now I'm just going to pump the clutch a few times, hold it in, open it, close it. Open it, close it. Open it, close it. Now, how many times should you do this? Well, until all the air is out of the system. All right. All right. That is it. We have now bled our brake and clutch master cylinders, both our front calipers, and now our clutch slave cylinder. So we are good to go braking and clutch wise. All right, guys, that is a wrap for this episode, part 3 of my wrecked bike rebuild video series sponsored by BellissiMoto. But before we wrap it up, I want to show you guys a couple of things that I took care of off camera. So you know my headlight housing, right? And how it was all jacked up. And if you follow me on Instagram, then in Twitter and Facebook, then you've already seen this. But using Plastifix, I believe it's called, I was able to fix my headlight housing. So remember, I had a crack here, and I was able to seal that all up. And remember, this tab was broken off completely. So I was able to almost basically make a new tab. Just the top half of this is the original. And this works better than JB Weld. It's a powder and chemical mix, polymer mix, that when it hardens, it's actually plastic when it hardens. Unlike JB Weld, when it hardens, it's still like this putty shit that's just sitting on top of your plastic. This actually bonds with the plastic, and it's plastic. It's bonded to one another. So that is on there tight. That is all sealed up. So I took care of that, saved myself a chunk of change because now I don't have to buy a new headlight housing. And again, I think these between $1,200 and $1,400 for the headlight housing. So we don't have to worry about that. And then my brackets for the front fairing and mirrors. So one was really, if I could do this, let me see. One of these, this one here, was really jacked up. It was bent like down and all over the place. So basically all I did was put it in my vise and bend it back into place. Now you can see I have all of the vise marks on there and it's all jacked up. Not worried about that because I'm going to strip all the paint off of it. I'm going to sand it all down and then I'm going to powder coat them myself because I do have a small powder coating setup here in my garage. So not worried about that. Brackets are all right. Again, something else I don't have to spend, I think they wanted 40 or 50 bucks from the dealer for these items, so don't have to spend any money on that. So that's a wrap for this episode, part 3 of my wrecked bike rebuild video series sponsored by BellissiMoto. We got the oil and filter changed. We got the fuel filter changed. We got the new stay put on. We got our reservoirs put on, even though I did them off camera. We bled the front brakes. We got the bike all cleaned up, so there's no dirt all over it and things of that nature. So I think we're pretty close to getting this started. I'm just waiting for the air filter and waiting for a couple of more things. So hopefully, next episode, hopefully, cross our fingers, we can get this thing fired up. My battery, my Scorpion battery, actually came in, so it is here, so we're not waiting for that. So I'm just waiting for the air filter and a couple of more things, then we can fire this thing up. Wanted to let you guys know I did source a OEM dash. It's coming all the way from France. So special thanks to that guy out there that's sending me a dash. So that should be here whenever, you know, customs. So hopefully sometime next week. But we got a new dash on the way. I'm Derrick, Euro Superbike Life. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, guys, take care.